So when we're selling and we're coaching our salespeople to sell, I really think selling is very easy. People have money and they want to buy something of value and benefit to them. It's that simple. So when I think about selling, I think about things such as value drivers. What are the benefits that plug into them? So for example, I go to a lot of sporting events and I will go sometimes just for the sheer benefit of going to a sporting event. Or sometimes I'll buy tickets and give them to customers so I can expand my marketing, create a great experience for them, potentially for their kids. But we buy things for different value. We buy things for different value at different times. What we tend to do as salespeople is we tend to deliver what we want to sell based on why we think people should buy. And that can come at odds with each other. Now, when we're selling, we create a perception. And the reason I share all of that is we also have to protect our perception. Now, I really want you to hear this. When I think about perception, how often when we were dating or we meet a boss or we interview, within the first 2 minutes, we develop a very strong perception of that person, right? Don't we do the same thing when we're selling? Don't we do the same thing when someone's selling us? So the point of this presentation is, how do we go about creating a powerful perception? We know we need to sell things of great benefit that plug into people's reasons why they're buying, but what insulates us and what also builds our brand, our personal brand, is our powerful personal perception. But how do we go about doing that? What we tend to do is make a mistake and say, well, most people like me. I get along with most people and I'm a pretty good communicator. That's not the only thing that you can do. So when I think about perception, there are 5 major ways to build a positive perception. First, energy. Years ago, I was at an organization that sold recreational products, boating products, and it's about a $4 billion company. And we were working in the call center. We never did any formal sales training. What we did is we scheduled walking breaks. Because what we noticed at certain times of the day, the call center would have a reduction in calls, meaning we had more time. What would people typically do? Well, they'd have idle chit-chat. And so what we did is they had a 75 call minimum that they had to perform on a daily basis. What we started to do is anytime someone went to a coffee break, a bathroom break, or had a scheduled walk break, they had to imitate a fast marathon walker, somebody like you'd see in the Olympics. And what we noticed is we sounded better on the phone. From the hours of 2 to 4 p.m., when our lunch would settle and people would start yawning, we noticed our call volume went up. We actually took that call center within 9 months from 75 calls to 130 calls without ever asking them to increase their calls. Here's the other thing. People started to enjoy the sales process more because they were more energetic. But the perception of our customer was greater, which resulted in a sales increase of 22, 31, and 74% over the next 18 months in their sales programs. 2, use positive language. Tremendous, great, fantastic. What we tend to do is we tend to regurgitate our words that we typically speak with. So for example, when we're describing our product or service, do we really give careful thought to the words we use to describe the benefits for the customers? Tremendous, fantastic, great, increased frequency, decreased pain. Think of the language that you use. Say thank you. Most people don't send a thank you card. Sadly, that's a point of differentiation. Years ago, I had someone in the agricultural business who really questioned me on this. And he said, look, we don't see our customers sometimes for 3 to 6 months after we do business with them. How do we do that? And this gentleman took some feedback to heart, went into one of his customers' local areas, got a newspaper, noticed his customer's son was in the newspaper and had pitched a Little League game, really, really well. Got the article, got it matted, and dropped it off at the customer's house. Now think about that. They drive hours sometimes to see their clients. Think of that perception. So my question is, how are you saying thank you creatively? 4, active listening. So let's think about 2 salespeople go in to see a client. First salespeople that go in typically ask questions. They write down the answers on a notepad. They deliver some fairly good benefits to the person's reasons why they're buying, and they have a normal sales interaction. I think that's an expectation. Sadly, some people don't even do that well. But the second person or the second group of people that go in ask really good questions. Oh, by the way, their questions are written out beforehand, and the customer sees that. And then what they do is every once in a while, maybe 2-3 times during the course of the sales interaction, they stop the customer and say, you know what, Joanne? Would you mind if I just paraphrase back to you what I've heard so far so I don't make assumptions, and I want to make sure you and I are on the same page together? When was the last time somebody did that for you? Let's be honest. Salespeople, by an industry, by perception, are not the most trusted organization or group. Now, I think that's unfair because I think we provide an incredibly valuable service. But when we start saying things outside of active listening, such as, well, Bob, I know you said you wanted 500, and Bob says, wait a minute, I said 50. What happens to our trust factor in that defining moment? Versus if I said, Bob, I think you said that you wanted 500 of these? No, Tim, I said I wanted 50. Okay, that's why I wanted to just state back to make sure we're on the same page. Who has created a point of differentiation through active listening? And last, have a streamlined process, not a sales process, a process of interaction. One of the suggestions I always encourage people is that before you meet with a prospect for the first time, send them 2 to 3 questions that if they could answer via email, so you can be sensitive to their time when you do meet. And what you're doing is you're hitting the road running before you physically meet. Find out information before you actually meet. And say, would you mind answering 2 or 3 questions? I think it'll help us really leverage our time together. When was the last time someone did that for you? So the point of this presentation is to build 5 positive perceptions that you can use that will differentiate you during the sales process that will help you win more business. I hope this has helped.